All right, we're recording.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you for your patience as we have some technology challenges today. This is our probably our fourth Thursday monthly meeting on our goals and guardrails. I cannot see the screen, so I'm going to rely on Diane and Ms. Crooms and Ms. Reed and everyone to help me out. But on this cover slide, my name is Travis Norvell. I think I know most of the people who've joined. We are happy that you are here. And we will go to the next slide on the purpose. So for the purpose of these conversations are to build the awareness of our progress towards our goals and guardrails. So every Monday at a Monday board meeting, we tackle one of the goals and guardrails from our student outcomes focused governance. And it's had a governance level between the board and the superintendent. This year, we started bringing those conversations down to the community to get feedback and go a little bit deeper into the work. And so that's what these have been. And so today is a continuation of that. So next slide with the list of goals and guardrails. So on this slide, you'll see on the top are the goals. So our 4 goals are literacy, numeracy, post-graduation preparedness, and college and career readiness. So those are our student-focused goals. Last month, we talked literacy. This month, we're talking numeracy. And then on the bottom are our guardrails. So those guardrails are more of the adult-focused, but that is equity, stakeholder engagement, culture and climate, innovation, and accountability. So this year, you can go back later. I'll put in the chat the website, but you can see the recordings from stakeholder engagement, culture, climate, and equity. And then we did literacy last month. And we look forward to continuing these conversations with the community. Next slide. And so with that, I'm going to pass it to Dr. O'Brien to talk about the data, and hopefully she can see the slides.
I can. Thank you, Travis. Good
Awesome.
afternoon, everyone. So super excited to be here to talk to you about goal 2, which is numeracy. So our overarching goal for numeracy is that we want to look at the percentage of students in grades 3 through 8 scoring proficient or above in math as measured by the Georgia Milestones Assessment will increase from 26% in August of 2022 to Y% in August of 2026. The reason that we have that Y percentage there is that we are in the process of still determining what the end targets and annual targets are at a future board retreat. But in an effort to be transparent, we want to be able to continue to share our progress on the Georgia Milestones Assessment. From figure 1, you can see that our spring 2023 results in mathematics for students in grades 3 through 8, we had 28.7% of our students scoring at the proficient or above level in mathematics. This is 2.7 percentage points higher than our students performed in the spring of 2022. For this particular goal, we are rating ourselves at below target because, as you can see in figure 1, while we did see gains from spring 2023 to spring 2022, our performance of 28.7 percentage points is still over 10 percentage points lower than the original target of 39.2%. We will reevaluate our progress towards goal 2, once updated annual targets and end targets are established. Next slide. So to help us with measuring our progress towards goal 2, we use the NWEA MAP growth assessment to help us monitor our progress towards reaching our proficiency levels on the Georgia Milestone Assessment. Interim goal 2.1, as you can see here, measures the percentage of students in grades K through 1 who have demonstrated readiness in mathematics on the District Universal Screening Assessment will increase from 45.5% in May 2022 to 51.5% in May 2024. For this particular interim goal, we use the MAP assessment for kindergarten and first grade students. And to determine whether a student is ready in mathematics, we look at students that score at the 61st percentile or higher. MAP considers these students to be high or high average achievement, and also says that these students demonstrate that they are ready for the curriculum and content in that subject area. From our fall 2023-2024 results, you can see that 51.2% of our students have demonstrated readiness in mathematics. This is higher than the students scored in spring of 2023, which you can see was 48.5 percentage points. Our status for this particular goal is on target because, as you can see, we are really close to meeting that spring 2024 target of 51.5%. We are just 0.3 percentage points away from our end target. Next slide. To help us with monitoring progress for our older students in grades 2 through 8, we use the NWEA MAP assessment to help us predict what the Georgia Milestones achievement level would be for students that are taking the assessment. As you can see here, for interim goal 2.2, we're looking at proficient or above in mathematics on the district universal screening assessment will increase from 24.4% in May 2022 to 30.4% in May 2024. If you look at our fall MAP assessment results from fall 23-24, you can see that as of this fall, 28.5% of our students in grades 2 through 8 have an estimated achievement level of proficient or above in mathematics. While this is higher than our spring 2023 results of 27.4, you can see that this is 1.9 percentage points below our May 2024 target of 30.4%. And so as a district, we are rating ourselves as developing. We're moving towards the target, but we don't feel at this point we are exactly on target. Next slide. So with that, I will hand it over to Travis to kind of lead us through Q&A.
Sure. Thanks, Dr. O'Brien. So feel free to either jump off of mute or put your questions in the chat if you have any data-specific questions for Dr. O'Brien.
Hey, Travis, I'll go first. This is Ms. Howe. So it sounds like we are making progress in math. Is that right?
Yes, you are correct, Ms. Howe. We are definitely, for our kindergarten and first grade, as well as our students in grades 2 through 8, we are making progress in mathematics this year.
Okay. I guess we like to celebrate the small wins. So go to you guys. Hey, Miss Wayne.
Hey, Ms. Howe, how are you? And absolutely, we celebrate all wins, big and or small. You doing okay, I hope?
Yes, I am.
Dr. O'Brien, while if there's other people who put their questions in the chat or jump off, I think during the literacy conversation, it came up. Could you share about how often the board can review and the administration can review our goals or our interim goals as part of our progress monitoring in case some of the kind of methods or data should change?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point that you bring out there. So our goals, as they're stated right now, each of the 4 goals, I'll focus on goal 2. If we look at goal 2 numeracy, where we're looking at increasing our percentage of students in grades 3 through 8 that are scoring proficient or above in math on the Georgia milestones. You'll notice that our goals go from August of 2022 as the starting point to August of 2026 as the ending point. And typically, the Council of Great City Schools, who has been guiding this process, suggests that our goals last about 5 years. But they have a slightly different suggestion for interim goals. Our interim goals, as you can see, that are really based around the MAP assessment, because again, that's our best predictor or estimate of how students will do on the Georgia Milestones Assessment in the spring. But you'll notice that our interim goals started in May of 2022 and they end in May of 2024, which is actually this spring. And so the guidance that we've received from the Council of Great City Schools is that our interim goals should only last anywhere from 1 to 3 years. And the reasoning behind that is that we want to be able to have the ability to not only monitor progress, but to take a pause to reflect on the work that we've done, adjust our strategy, as well as adjust our targets as we continue throughout the 5 years. Their suggestion to us is that your strategy in year 1 should not be your strategy in year 5, because we want to think of this as a continuous improvement process where we're learning each year and making adjustments. And so by us ending our interim goals in 2024 this spring, this gives us the ability to be able to, again, take a little time for reflection and adjust our targets based on our strategy as we continue to support our students with these 4 goals through 2026. And so the MAP assessment allows us to, again, have that period to just be able to track progress 3 times a year.
Awesome. Thanks, Monique. I see 2 more hands. Let's go to Ms. Balil.
Yes, I was gonna talk about the Amplify with I'm at Hollis Innovation Academy, and I noticed that the principals had a choice to choose an option. And I think our option was option 2, so we won't be using Amplify anymore. We'll be going after the Georgia DOE standards. So I kind of like that we were given a chance to actually pick a model, because Amplify wasn't working for my son. It was all over the place. And I don't know if you remember or seen me, some of the stuff that you would present on Matt, I would just type in the chat, get rid of Amplify. So I'm just here. I'm happy that we are working on this goal, and we were allowed autonomy to pick.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that feedback, Ms. Balil. And that may jump a little ahead for our academics team, but I don't know if while we're on Amplify, if the academics team wants to update people on kind of what the review looked like, and kind of explain a little bit of what Ms. Balil was talking about for our middle schools.
Good afternoon, everybody. And Ms. Balil, I appreciate the feedback. And I will get started. So Sherry Forrest is on as well. So she collaborated with the academics team in giving principals an opportunity to make a choice as to whether or not they wanted to do Amplify as their sole resource, a blended model with Amplify and the state's units, or if they wanted to just use the state's units to teach their standards. And when principals had the opportunity to make a choice, like you mentioned, Ms. Balil, Hollis Innovation Academy did choose that particular option. And so what we are doing now is collaborating and working together to ensure that schools are supported in whatever option that they choose, so that we can continue to make the gains that we've seen in the data so far. And if anyone from the math team wants to add to that, please feel free to do so.
And just want to share, I do want to share that recently that was facilitated and supported by Sherry Forrest, who was also on the line, and our secondary math team, that we want to make sure that we did a reset to ensure that the teachers as well as instructional coaches have an understanding of the new math standards, and also how the difference is from the former math standards that we have and the current math standards. So we had conducted 2 professional learning sessions, one with the strictly instructional coaches, and then a second session that was conducted this week with teachers, with all of our 6 through 8 teachers. And continued support will be provided throughout the year.
Awesome. Thanks. And I think for those who are unaware, we have Ms. Weems here, who's our Executive Director of Curriculum Instruction, and y'all correct me if I have the wrong titles. And we have Ms. Crooms here, who is the Director of Secondary Instruction, so middle and high schools. Ms. Howe, I see your hand raised.
Yes, I had a quick question. What can we do as parents and community members outside of the school to help keep those numbers increasing for those babies and the older babies? Which software should we allow our students to spend time on, or which books they should be engaging to help keep those numbers increasing?
Great question. I don't know if either Crooms or Weems, but also Miss Reed or Miss Garner, they did 2 really great family learning series on math last month. So I don't know if there's any tips that y'all mind sharing of what families can do.
I was there, Travis.
I know you. I was talking to everybody else. That's how we to let them know. So I don't know if Miss Reed, if you have any tips and tricks for
Sure,
families.
absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Howe, for that question. One one high leverage thing that won't take a lot to do right now to help us out is to continue to empower your babies, that dispel the myth that there's math people and not math people. Every student can learn math and be successful. I know artsy, right brain people who did great in mathematics, and I also know left brain type A personalities who struggled in math. So there's no such thing as a math person. So I think the first step with these new standards, and that we're taking this time to reset students on how they're learning math, is that the math is not new, but how they get to learn it is new. And it's actually more exciting, more engaging. So anytime you can bring in your real world engagement with math as an adult to your kids. So as you're at the shopping, at Kroger, Publix, wherever, while you're tallying up the items in your head, have your student do the same, your child do it right there with you, and teach them how to estimate, those types of things. So always bringing the real world to your babies with math and constantly showing them where math shows up in their everyday world. That is definitely where parents can push in.
Thank you, Amarius. And just to add to that, we also have state resources for where parents can get on. And I'm going to add that into the chat. There's a link that sends you to the parent letter so that you will know exactly what your students are learning at any given point in the school year. And Georgia Public Broadcasting also has a series for parents, for students, for anyone who wants to know, like, what is my student learning in 6th grade? They can go on and learn exactly what their student is learning and how you can support. So I'm going to add that in the chat for you now.
And also, we do have a parent playlist for the YouTube, and we are going to be adding content, but versus the team determining what that content is, I'll also drop a feedback link in the chat. It's a tiny APS. If you could just rank some key topics we usually hear parents bring up on what you would like to see on the YouTube channel. We plan to be updating that heavily in coming months, and definitely in the spring semester starting in January, but we want to be intentional and collaborative on the content that we provide K-12 on that parent playlist. But the previous parent engagement video is uploaded onto the YouTube playlist for parents to watch as well.
Awesome. Thank y'all for that feedback, and then continuing to add to the YouTube playlist and being responsive of what parents need. Since we're jumping right into the work, I don't know if we want to move to the slide that says numeracy strategies, and I don't know if the curriculum instruction team want to share any high level, here are some of the things that are happening. And then throughout that, I see a question, hey, board member Jones, asking about programs or apps accessible to parents that are cross-reference to the Georgia standards. So I'll kind of pass it to the academics team, and if y'all want to share anything else on the horizon or that we've been working on in the math world.
Sure. So I can start with elementary. We are curating some resources for parents to share that cross-reference with the new standards, as Ashley pointed out. We are referring parents to the GPB PBS videos. The State Department has really put a lot of effort into that and breaking down exactly what math skills per domain that your children will be engaging with. Also, we have been sending teachers to the regional training. So the district has funded trainings for teachers back in June, starting with that. So the regional office has been training teachers and coaches on the units. They're taking an all-day session, deep dive into every single unit they will be teaching this year. So these sessions started in June and they're presently continuing. And so while we can't get all the subs and things taken care of for all teachers to attend during the school year, the coaches have picked up that baton and have been attending those regional trainings and redelivering to teachers. We have a seat at the state table. So I'm a member of the state team who's helped vet the curricular resources. So we've had a say and what's been going out from the state. Currently, we're also working on some other rubrics and things to be used at district level. So APS does have a seat at the math table as far as the state work is being done. We're also continuing quarterly trainings and monthly trainings with our instructional coaches and our leaders. So we're trying to build this cycle of demystifying this whole space of the math department and parents. So we're collaborating with our parent engagement. So we will have a table on the November 18th parent conference to pass out, little number line kits for you to take home and work with your students with, and also provide some additional resources and literature to help your students with math. I also wanted to lift that the schools have had a lot of say in the curricular resources and things on the elementary side in terms of revising any assessments. So we try not to push things down to the schools until we've had several sets of eyes at different levels to give us feedback and ensure that we're all on the same page as far as the expectations with the new standards. So coaches and leaders have had a chance to give us feedback on assessments, our unit plans, and we do real-time revisions. We try to be as responsive as possible because we know this first year implementation, year one, is all about support. So we're trying to do this delicate balance of not overwhelming teachers and schools with the newness, and we're trying to be very intentional and strategic, not giving people too much and overwhelming them. We want to make sure that we're very strategic in taking the bite-sized pieces as we go and making the necessary edits. This won't be perfect. We know we'll hit some barriers, but we're well equipped to handle those barriers and pivot when we need to. We just want to ensure the success for all of our elementary students in math.
Thanks for sharing. Did we want to jump into secondary at all, or?
Sure. Really, Amarius said many of the same exact things that I was going to say in terms of support. So we're doing very much the same thing in terms of partnering with Metro Reso on the Digging Deeper series. For teachers and coaches, we work with our coaches monthly as a whole, and then individually, we us and our specialists, myself and the specialists, work with our instructional coaches on PLCs, how working in professional learning within the PLC, as well as tracking and making sure that our data is at the forefront. And so we've done some work around data meetings this year to ensure that the assessments are tracking how well our students are doing. So we have a large and really productive assessment team that has written all of our assessments that come from the vast majority of all of our schools across the district. So they're involved in that process. Sharing, making sure that we have blueprints for those assessments so the teachers know exactly which standards are covered on the assessment so that they have a really good idea of how and what they should be teaching throughout the year. We also are helping with unit internalization because we know that that's a large barrier for or could have been a large barrier in terms of making sure that everybody understands the scope of what's covered in the new standards. So that has been a lot of the work that we've done in the secondary space. And currently in our middle school space, just supporting with the transition, whatever the decision has been. We're scheduling out our support to make sure that teachers and coaches can handle the transition and know exactly what their students should be learning and the standards that they're covering, to make sure that we're all on one accord. So those are some of the things that are happening at the secondary level. But yes to everything that Amari has said. And so that really covered a lot of the same things. We're really in lockstep, K-12.
One thing I didn't get to add was we also have 38 of our 42 elementary schools receive the manipulatives grant. So we're constantly trying to get resources and materials and tools for students to help reason through mathematics. And I will be I am presently working on the application for the current state early numeracy grants, where we can be awarded up to $100,000. So I'm trying to also strategize, what all 42 schools can benefit from this grant, but also targeting some money towards teacher development and getting math endorsements through our regional office, as well as targeting some funds for our turnaround schools and continuous support schools as well.
Awesome. Thank y'all both so much for that information. I know sometimes with the focus on literacy, which is also important, and which is the focus of some of our community meetings going on, we can forget about the focus on math, but y'all are not, and y'all are on top of things today. So thank you all for sharing. I see a question from Board Member Jones, or her hand raised. Board Member Jones?
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to piggyback on what I put in the chat. And the reason I asked for that is, some of the schools are using different platforms. I know IXL has been one of them. I'm not really concerned about the actual platform, but I know that, they do, like, if you go on their site, they are cross-referenced to these specific standards. So if your child's MAP assessment would say that they, they're in 8th grade, but they have not mastered the standard, 7.GSR.5.4, explore, describe a relationship between pi, radius, diameter, parts of a circle, right? And then it has little exercises that you can click on, parts of a circle. So do we have that level of accessibility for our parents to try to help their children with specifically what their issues are?
Not that I know of at this point. I know that IXL is not purchased by the entire district, so schools have access if their school purchases it. We don't have a district-wide license for that program, because we have the other intervention programs in terms of HMH Math 180, Read 180, System 44 that the district has purchased. So schools have that as an additional. So if there are, I am not sure of a parent-specific platform, or unless it's through the specific school to give parents access to that platform, and I'm not familiar.
And on the
okay, do we have the ability to like for the parents to know, for instance, that my kid, has not mastered, the properties of triangles, for instance? And did the parents get access to that kind of level detail?
So they should, through their teacher directly. So if they have typically on the assessments, the unit level assessments, common unit assessments. So teachers have the ability to share that specific data with their students. We don't, that's something that the students are able to get from their teacher, and parents are able to share that data with or teachers are able to share that data with their parents based on the blueprints.
And I know on the elementary side, through the Savvis and Vision textbook, if your child they all have a Realize account. So there is a digital platform to the textbook. And so there is a parent resource letter that's attached to every topic in the textbook, and it walks parents through the various strategies that the children can leverage depending on the certain topic or concept covered. And so, but that is accessible through the students portal, which is accessible at home. as well.
Thank you. And I just wanted to put that in there because I have to hop off and go to another meeting. But I just remember when my kid was, my middle child was in 5th grade, and people have heard me talk about this, that, you know, when we were using the CAS assessment, I got home a big 4-page list of, you know, standards that he had mastered and had not mastered. And some of them he was way above grade level. And some of them it was like, whoa, he was really missing that 4th grade standard. And it was really helpful because then, because our school did have IXL, I was able to say, oh, Georgia standard, whatever, and then go catch him up very quickly. So it sounds like we're trying to work towards something and I've heard from parents that they would like to have that level of granular detail so that they can be as helpful for their child.
Awesome. Thank you, Board Member Jones. As you were talking, I jumped into my own kids' Infinite Campus to see what I could figure out as well. And so you can kind of see some assignments and how well they do. But like you said, how you can then quickly connect that standard or that assignment to some of the great resources that this team has put together to support them. So appreciate you kind of calling that out to make that connection. Any other question? I think, let's see. Miss Howell.
I had one more. Miss Wings, you remember how we used to do the tutorial after school, the math? Do they have that school-wide? Well, not school-wide, but district-wide, or is that gonna be based off the school?
That's a good question, Ms. Howe. So in our policy, it is expected to have Wednesday tutorial for all schools. Schools have had the autonomy to do some things different, offering tutorial during the day, because of course, you know, students don't have access when they're not there. And so one of the things that you and I kind of worked through at TAG was trying to give students an opportunity to be there after schools. So what a lot of schools are doing is providing that time during school, whether it's lunch and learn, whether it's early arrivers, to allow students an opportunity to get the tutorial during the day. Because what we do realize is that transportation is an issue. And because transportation is an issue, it has negatively impacted students being there after school. And so what schools have done instead, in some cases, where they provided professional development for their teachers so that they can find ways anytime throughout the day so that they can have time with students so that they can continue to learn what they couldn't do after school. But yeah, we did it at TAG. We provided buses, but it's not an option for all schools because some schools don't have the budgets to provide additional transportation. We did it with partnerships and in-kind donations. That's not the case for everybody. So we're just kind of trying at the district level to provide opportunity and resources as well as materials so that teachers can have things to do during the school day. But that's a good question though.
Okay, thank you.
And,
you're welcome.
And also to add on, Ms. Weems, we do have access to paper. So those are live tutors that all students have access to 24 hours a day. So even if they're at home and they have their device, they can log on and have an actual tutor help them through homework or assignment or remediation, enrichment, whatever they would need. So they do have district-wide access to paper.
Miss Gardner, can you put that in the chat so I can share it?
Yes, and students have access to that through my backpack. I'll see if I can get a link to it. I may not be able to, but they do have access through my backpack. They can just click the link there, but give me 1 second.
And then to Ms. Howe, while Dr. Garner is looking for that, keep in mind that students do have access to their intervention resources throughout, even at home. So if a student is doing Math 180, they have an opportunity to work on those additional skills that they may not have gotten during the workday at home as well. So there are quite a few resources. Dr. Garner will share the link for paper. If not, we can get it sent to you via email as well.
Okay, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
My backpack it seems to be having the same network issue that we're all working through. So I won't be able to navigate there right now, but I think
I seen a flyer. I'll get it. I'll pull it from the website and I can share it because I do remember that.
Okay.
It's pretty much district wide. Yesterday we had 8 schools with no internet. I believe today we have 40. So yeah.
That is not the right trend data that we need today. So we'll,
I am so sorry. That's all I got for you.
I appreciate it. All All right, let's see if there's any more questions. Feel free to raise your hand. And if not, as you kind of put more questions in the chat or raise your hand, I will go ahead and start closing us out. Some reminders upcoming. We have tonight, we have our third of 4 regional meetings. This one will be at Phoenix Academy, the former CREM campus. It is basically a third of Dr. Battle talking about her first 60 days and getting feedback, a third to give feedback on the literacy policy that Board Member Jones has been heavily involved in, and then a third with the superintendent search firm, finding out kind of what you're looking for in a new superintendent. And they it is also being live streamed on both the APS Facebook as well as the APS board Facebook. And so you can also ask questions and provide feedback through that chat. And we have people in person to share that. If you can't make it tonight, and you can also watch and add from previous nights, but we'll also have it again on the 14th at Dobbs. And then on the 18th will be the Family Engagement Conference, where, as the academics team mentioned, where they'll be there, but there's a lot of great topics, a lot of stuff that y'all say when we do these meetings that is needed. Our family engagement team then kind of creates some courses and some learning and opportunities there. So those are a few things upcoming. And then an exciting event that's happening internal to APS this weekend is our AP Yes Awards, where we get to celebrate all of our teachers and staff and support staff and everybody for being awesome. And so that will be this weekend. So be on the lookout for some exciting announcements of Teacher of the Year, Principal of the Year, all of those well-deserved awards. Did I miss anything from any of the APS team that I should be sharing?
Just a reminder to register for the Family Engagement Conference on Saturday, November 18th.
Yep, and we put the link in there. Also be on the lookout. There's both a superintendent search survey going out, as well as this is around the time of the year where we do look at our student calendar. And so you should be getting some surveys very soon to give feedback on as we build our student calendar, as well as we create a leadership profile for a future superintendent. And so with those areas, yep.
Hey, Travis, and this is Pierre. I do apologize. I was going to speak to the survey, but the other thing is we've added 2 more virtual opportunities around the superintendent search profile. Those flyers will be going out between today and tomorrow, but it will be on the 16th and the 17th. On the 16th, it'll be at 6 p.m. And then on the 17th, we will have it at noon. So just wanted to put that out just so that folks can share with their communities, but a flyer will follow.
Hey, can you send that out in a timely manner, Pierre?
Ms. How we always do, but we'll continue to do that.
I did
And Travis, if I could, I would like to publicly thank the MAP team for their unwavering efforts. They have pushed through textbooks of the adoptions last year, rolling out new standards, supporting schools with such small teams. And because of the fact of the work that they're doing, we are continuing to see gains, and I do appreciate them. So I just wanted to publicly say thank you to them, because they are pulled in so many different directions, but yet and still they show up with smiles on their faces. We get great feedback from schools in regards to their support and their efforts. So thank you so much, MAP team. Keep up the good work.
Awesome. Thanks for recognizing them. We will ditto that. I actually got some text during this call about how great and resourceful the math team is. And so I'll second that. Thank you, Ms. Williams, for sharing. So with that information, we will kind of sign off, and we appreciate your attendance. Everyone who registered, we'll then send out the links and all these great stuff in the chat, resources I'll put in there as well. And we look forward to seeing those of you who can join us tonight at the regional meeting. And y'all have a great rest of your day.